Hello there everybody, Robin Nichols here, talking to you today about the edit functions in Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now, I'm working in Adobe Photoshop Elements PSE 12, the latest version, but pretty much everything I'm going to talk about is relevant to 11.10.9.8 even. So don't panic about versions, they tend to be very, very similar. Now, we're looking at the editor, and as I've said before in my intro to the organizer, you'll find that the editor and the organizer look stunningly similar, and this is something that can cause a major problem. One of the big differences is in the edit window we have a choice of 3 different types of editor. So we can be just a quick editor, or we can be the guided editor, or we can be an expert. I know you're all going to go for the right hand expert button. Don't be afraid of it. It is a really, really good way to work. The quick one kind of makes things easier up to a certain point, and generally these things is, once you get a little bit more inquisitive, you're a little bit more confident with your editing, you think, gee, I'm fed up with this, I want to get on to something a bit more professional. So just head straight into the expert department. The guided one is kind of like holding your hand, because as you can see on the right, there are all sorts of things like what do you want to do today type projects. And when we come to open a photo, you'll see it'll actually guide you through step 1, step 2, step 3. So that's kind of nice as well. I tend to kind of push as many people as possible into the expert window, simply because that's the best way of learning this program, in at the deep end, I always say. Another way to differentiate this from the organizer window, very simply, is it's got a toolbar on the left hand side. Wow, a toolbar. So these tools are for tinkering with your pictures. Okay, and the thing about Photoshop Elements is it's got a lot of tools. It's like your typical garage. You drive in there and you've got this whole rack of tools up the back of the garage, and you've got 3 screwdrivers on each peg, that kind of thing. So same deal here. So for example, if I'm going to choose just the simple old, what shall I choose? Ooh, pencil. There's a pencil. I've chosen a very inappropriate one because the pencil just has the pencil on it. But if I were to choose, for example, a retouching tool, it's actually got 2 on it. Okay, it looks like a little band-aid. So we've got the spot healing brush and the healing brush. So you kind of have to sort of know, with a little bit of experience, there's 3 on this one. You have a little bit of experience to know, well, I'm looking for that tool that looks like a blue pointy mountain, and you don't actually see it there, but it's down here. So we need to kind of remember that. The eraser's got 3 on it. Wow, okay, the amoeba has got 6, 7, 8 different tools on that one. Well, that's kind of the junk shop, isn't it? Anything that we couldn't find a peg for, we stuck down on the amoeba or the shape tool. So it is a little bit confusing to begin with. You kind of have to just test it out and run around. As you can see, if you hover over some of these little icons here, it says selection brush tool, and in brackets A. What that means is if you press key A, what it'll do is automatically select that particular tool. So I know, for example, that the hand tool, which is this little fella up here, is H. If I press H on the keyboard, hopefully it's going to select that tool. It doesn't, of course, because I don't have a picture open. So I'm going to open a picture, and one of the ways to open a picture is this. I can use my regular Windows, I was going to say Windows window, but the Windows Explorer window. Gosh, I've got so many good pictures. Which one can I possibly use? I will use something that possibly needs a little bit of help, as if most of my pictures don't need a little bit of help. I'll use this one actually, and I'm just going to drag it out of the Windows Explorer into this dark grey center part, and it just automatically opens. So that's the first way to open that picture, and this is called Fushimi 002 New. Now, another way to open pictures in Elements is this. I can click on the Open button. So here's Fushimi 002, double click that. So that's a second way. A third way is to use the organizer. Now, again, if you've one of these people, go away, if you're one of these people who are not quite sure about using the organizer, here's how we can work here. I'm going to choose this picture here. Now, I can double click it. This is what everybody does. They double click and go, wow, okay. And then hang on a minute, that's not the editor, is it? Because the editor is in the background. And this is where a lot of confusion arises. So double clicking it, of course, just makes it go big. Alright, double clicking just makes it go big. So what I can do is this. I'll just go back and double click it again. We can press Control or Command I. Oh, wow, okay. So that's about the third way to get them into the window. Let's go back to the organizer and show you another way to do it. We're on a bit of a roll here. I'm going to choose, let's say with this one here, I can right click and say edit with elements editor, please Robin. Ding, puts it into the editor window. Okay, that's 4. Let's go back to the grid pattern. Let's just choose this picture like that, and we can choose something like share. Let's have a look. Can we do share? No. Can we go to create? No. What we probably could do is go to instant fix. Okay. This is a little bit of a dodgy one because this is actually fixing pictures inside Elements Organizer. So we haven't even got into the editor. So it actually doesn't, I suppose, theoretically open in the editor. It just opens it or makes it go big and allows you to edit it without actually taking it into the editor. Another way to do it, of course, is to click on the word editor. Oh, look, I can actually open it in Photoshop, another external editor, or a photo editor. So that'll take it in. That's number 5 way of doing it. There are plenty more other ways of doing it. For example, I can just right click and say open, and if you're only using Photoshop Elements Editor as an editing application, it will automatically take it into Elements and allow you to edit it. Of course, its preferences or properties have to be allied to Photoshop Elements alone. So if I go to the properties window here, you can see here at the moment, if I double click that, it's going to open in Photoshop CS5. I can of course change it and say open in the editor please, and you can do the same on a Mac using find or get info. Let's just apply that and click OK and put it to the test. Double click it and shazam, it just opens in the editor window. Wow, we're getting through them. I think that's number 6. I can of course just use the simple right click and choose open with and Elements 12 editor. There you go. And I think that's, what was that, 5 or 6 or 7. Anyway, that's enough for the moment. There are plenty of ways, and I think I've counted 10 ways to open it. And this is, again, you don't necessarily need to use the organizer. You don't necessarily need to use the standard Windows Explorer. You can just choose File, Open, goodness me, or even go File, Open up the top here and choose Open from there. So that's another 2 ways of doing it. Okay, so that's how to open, get your pictures ready for editing in the editor. So as I said, the tools are over on the left-hand side. The palettes are over on the right-hand side. What's a palette? A palette is something that just adds functionality, I guess the best way to say, to your image editing. So for example, we're looking at the layer palette. There is only one layer in this palette or one layer in this picture, therefore I can just see one layer. If I duplicate that a few times, we have multiple layers. So it allows me to see stuff happening in the picture. Similarly, we have the effects department. This is very cool because I can actually apply, some cool, I don't know, artistic, blurry, noisy, renderish, sharpening, sketching style effects to the image simply by, I don't know, let's just try and, I like one wallpaper. Double click it, see what happens. So if I double click it, absolutely nothing happens. It's probably because it's got a lot of work to do. What we need to do, I think it's actually had that applied. Let's just double click this. And as you can see here, what I said before was it's got a lot of work to do. Some of these filter effects, I will warn you, actually have millions of calculations because they're very, very complicated. So it's kind of, a moot point that if you click on something, you kind of have to wait for it to do it. In order to to function. Otherwise, if you go click, 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 and then you try clicking on something else. So the beauty of the editor workspace, as you can see down the bottom, we have undo and redo. Yay! So that allows me to go click, 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 and do loads and loads of things. And then if I don't like them, I can go undo, 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 undo. Okay, and again we have on the right-hand side we have some graphics. And the graphics allow me to put backgrounds and stuff. And these are mostly for the creative projects that we looked at in the original organizer department here. So we have under create, we have the ability to make greeting cards and so on and so forth. And that's really cool. So if I'm making a greeting card and I want to put a cool background on, there are millions of backgrounds. There are millions of, you guessed it, picture frames, graphics, shapes, text, all sorts of stuff, all lurking in this program. So it's not only a photo editor for photo purists, but it's really for hobbyists, it's for mums and dads, it's for kids, it's for people who want to have a bit of fun creating with their images. Now, as you can see here, I've got a few things in my favorites department, and that's simply because, as you can see, I think under special effects there are 380, I think I actually counted them, 380 different special effects, would you believe it? And each of those special effects has a variation or a variety depending on where the sliders and the buttons are set. So, infinite number of possibilities. And if you just go, my God, I'm never going to remember all this sort of stuff, what you can do is you can save it down to your favorites department here, so that your 10 favorite things that you use, which may be, I don't know, sepia tint or something like that, you can just find under that label. But wait, there's more, as they say on TV. Here we can go and get more palettes, and these are palettes to do with information about the photo, for example, about the density and the tonal ranges. The navigator, which allows me to check out where exactly in the picture I'm zooming to, and I can use this very quickly to have a look at details greatly enlarged. I can have a look at the history, and that's going to tell me what I've been doing, pretty much everything except for what I had for breakfast. We can have a look at how the colors are arranged in their separate red, green and blue channels. We also have color swatches. This is used, of course, for when we're painting or when we're adding different colored text. I can use actions. Actions, wow, what are these? These are pre-recorded special effects. Let's try this. That when we click on it, it applies it to the image. These are, I suppose, poached from Photoshop, so they're fairly serious. They're recordings that have been made using Photoshop of certain Photoshop actions, and you can play them on one picture, or as the point is, on 100 picture. Let's just try that one. I'm just going to click play, and it just goes off and automatically replays the recording. Wow. So I don't have to think about it. I can go off and have another cup of tea. And in fact, before I've even got into the kitchen to plug the kettle in, it's already done it for me. So those are actions. So these are extra little palettes found under More. Okay, very cool. So, quick edit, as you can see here, has a few simple things. It's got some very weird things, such as a toothbrush tool that doesn't really work. It's got a little text tool. It's got a basic retouching tool, cropping, of course, for cropping the picture. And I need to see before and after, or I can see before and after vertical, and so on and so forth. So, you know, these are very, very good little tool windows that allow me to navigate around. Now, I can also then do things like just Smart Fix, see what this does. This would be very interesting. Oh, okay. So Smart Fix, I'm trying to fix up the sepia that I've done, and it's probably not going to do it. You can just choose from here, or we can go to Exposure and have a look at that. You can brighten the image or darken it down, and so on and so forth. So simple tools to allow you to quickly edit the picture. I almost never use this because I always try and steer people into the expert window, as you can see here, but just wanted to explain. We also have, and what I might do is just revert my image. If I can find revert, here we go. This takes it back to the original state when I first opened it. So I'm going to revert the image, there we go, and I'm going to go to the guided edit. So this is what I was talking about before. Let's say I want to make this a brighter looking picture. Okay, brightness and contrast. Oh, let's try auto fix. Yeah, sort of worked. If that didn't work, you can just manually do it by just cranking it up or cranking it down. You know, so you get instant feedback, and if you're happy with it, you click the I'm happy with it button, which is done. I'm going to cancel that. And of course, you've got dozens of other things, like let's say I want to remove a color cast. Gee whiz, color cast selection. Click on part of the image that should be pure gray. Wow. Oh, okay, so see what it does. It changes the color. Oh, it changes the color. Sometimes not the way we want to do it. So there's a little bit of blurb on the right hand side that tells us what to do, and I really kind of like that. It's a very, very useful place to go if you've got questions. Of course, while you're doing a course with me, you can just email me and I'll answer your questions anyway. Okay, working with the editor is a fantastic experience because it is a very powerful tool. It has the amazing, very, very powerful tools. So the auto tools, what are they? We have a whole bunch of, let's go into the expert mode. And that's a very good example, actually. If you, for example, are stuck in the guided edit mode, you may find that sometimes when you access something up here, because it's all grayed out, it won't work. That's because we're in the wrong mode, so we need to go into the expert mode. So I'm going to channel you up here. This is the enhance button up here. The enhance has auto everything plus adjust lighting, color, etc., etc. The tools that I prefer to teach, which really do the business, are the adjust lighting, adjust color tools. These are very powerful and the bee's knees as far as I'm concerned. I'm saying that because, for example, Auto Smart Fix, it may work, but it may not work as well. So that's kind of a bit ho-hum, and I think, well, I want something better than that. All right, so I can adjust the amount of Smart Fix, and I think, well, yeah, that's a bit ho-hum as well. So let's try, and you can go through all these you know, Smart Fix, for example. What else have we got here? We've got, let's say, auto contrast. You know, some work, some don't. So my policy is to send everybody straight to adjust lighting and to a tool like levels, and we deal with this in a separate tutorial, but this allows me to ramp up the color, brightness, contrast, you name it. I can even change the color channels here wherever I want, just using this one tool. And that usually with your photography is all you need to fiddle with, and that's levels. Quick way to get levels is a big tip: Control L or Command L. Escape gets rid of it. So I would discount most of these auto tools because yes, they work spectacularly on occasion, but also on occasion they don't. So then you have to think, well, what am I going to do? And you have to go to plan B, C, D, and E. If you want to stick with a plan A, go directly to something like levels, fix it up, and then go on to the serious job of retouching. We also have a marvelous tool here. These are my two favorite tools: levels and of course hue and saturation, because I can then make nice black and whites. I can super saturate it, or if I'm just very clever, and of course I am very clever, I can take red and just take red out of the picture, leaving yellow, blue, green, etc. So you can single out a color and enhance it or reduce it as well with that tool. More on that later. All these tools on the left hand side as well, just to wrap this up, have an amazing range of possibilities. So for example, I'm going to choose the paintbrush tool. So the paintbrush tool has three different guises. It has the impressionist brush, the paintbrush, and this is the color replacement tool. That's for example, painting over the red areas and changing anything that's red to, for example, blue. And you can do that. So how you do that is you use the sliders or the settings in this palette here that pops up. I do personally find this palette a little bit annoying because it keeps popping up. I much prefer to have, you know, larger real estate in the window so I can see the picture. Every time I choose a new tool, of course, this palette pops up, so you have to go back and unpop it. And again, I'll just get rid of favorites there so we can go full frame on this. So we have the tool options, which control how the tool works, faster or slower. We have the tools themselves on the left hand side, and working with the tools we have a number of palettes that help extend the usability or the functionality of those tools. For example, layers, the special effects, and the graphics. We have a thing called the photo bin as well, and this just shows me more pictures that are open. So if I go back and open, let's say this one, and let's say I go back and open, in this case I'm going to be just very greedy, I'm going to open, let's say, 3 pictures in one go, 1, 2, 3, by selecting all 3, holding the control key down, or holding the command key down. So now I've got 3. The problem is, you know, if you're just looking at one, you think, well, gee whiz, where have the other 3 gone? You can see I've got multiples open because they're labeled along the top of the edit window. So I can just literally click on these tabs at the top if I want to see different images. Or if I'm not sure what they are, because I can't recognize them from the name here, I can go down to the photo bin and just click on these, or double click on these, and it brings them up. So they're kind of all stacked behind each other in a nice little format like that. Okay, and that's what the photo bin's about. Kind of nice. Alright, and I think that pretty much covers everything here. The best photo fixing tools for my money are, as the ones I've already described here, are levels, okay, under adjust lighting, or control or command L, okay, and hue and saturation, which you'll find under color. These are, as a beginner, as a starting project, these are very cool. Workflow, very, very important. Start your workflow by opening your picture. You may want to crop your picture, and I'm going to cover all these tools later on, but then you move on to getting the brightness and the color fixed, because you can't look at the color without the brightness. So it's open the picture, crop if needed, brighten the contrast and the brightness levels, then check the color, and then finally, before you head off to the sunset, or you may want to print it or upload it to the internet, you sharpen the picture. That's all for now, folks. I think that's a very good and comprehensive overview of the edit window. For me, my 2 favorite tools, of course, are levels and the hue and saturation. Other tips are try and ignore the auto tools, because although they do work sometimes, what do you do if they don't work? If you use these 2 tools, hue and saturation and levels first, of course, because that's brightness and contrast, you'll get much better, much more reliable, and much more repeatable results.